Hello, everybody. This is John here. You probably already know that, but anyway, no. So I just wanted to put this little note in here that this was recorded before there was the explanation slash expository podcast from Phil Spencer and the crew. So we have a lot more information, like pertinent information now than we did about a week ago. However, we still have a lot of the same opinions and thoughts and feelings that we'd like to share in this episode. And the following week, we're going to have a follow up where we actually did hear the podcast and can report on that as well. So stick around for the pre-podcast episode, and then stick around to sometime next week for the post-podcast episode. The post-podcast episode about the podcast you've already listened to. A triple, quadruple redundancy. Anyway, enjoy the show. I almost want to tell the story again, but I don't think I will because it makes me sound stupid. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Games with John and James. I'm John.
And I'm James.
You're also very tired.
So, fun story.
Okay.
Fun story. For all of you people who, we're going to give you some insider trading. Here, so obviously, as you can probably tell, this doesn't line up with dates, and you're like, what's going on in my brain? Well, after I tell you the story anyways. So I'm here working at the Super Bowl for my job, and I have been averaging a asinine amount of steps per day to the tune of 47,402 per day for going on 5 days right now. Oh my Lanta. And I also
the fact that you haven't actually replaced your legs with peg legs at this point is kind of crazy.
And I also posed a question to John. I literally, before we started recording, I was like,
yeah.
How about those ancient armies were the Romans, the Greeks, the Carthaginians, the Persians, the Egyptians, like they, in some cases, marched 20 plus miles a day. How big were those calves? Because mine are swollen and I literally look like I am just gonna fall over.
You're like reverse Popeye, but instead of big biceps and forearms, you got big calves. Yeah.
Eat your walking.
You've had literally all you can stand and can stands no more.
Literally. But it's been beyond amazing. I got to meet some really awesome people. I got to meet Seth freaking Rollins. That was dope. And he was in character even with me in uniform.
Wow.
Oh man, it's been fun.
It's been nice, I'm sure. And I was just kind of like Vince Lombardi himself. His ghost was idling around the trophy, just all like, "Hello, James. Good to see you."
Oh man, so I am running on fumes, but in a really good way because I got to make a lot of amazing videos. Of which this is going to be one of those times where work intersects with what we do here on the podcast. So I hope you enjoy it. Yeah. And then also back to podcast news. I did have one day when I first got here to hit up some game stores. Whenever I'm traveling, I always try to go and check them out. Found shout out for mispricing and them honoring the mispricing, by the way. I'm just going to say that now.
Oh my God. So you scammed somebody. Got it.
No. You, John, you know me. I always tell people the correct price too. I will not, I don't like to do that to people. And I know some people are like, well, if they mislisted it, it's on them. No. So found Lunar 1, so Lunar Silver Star Story, and Lunar 2 Eternal Blue, both sealed.
What?
The PS1 big box working designs. The Lunar was listed at 80 and the Lunar 2 was listed at 50. So,
wow.
If any of you are fans of that, oh my gosh, like those games are definitely worth way more than that, especially sealed.
Yeah, they are.
I did my due diligence. I was like, hey, I think you have these incorrectly listed. Showed them through the GameEye app, price charting, and eBay. I was like, hey, this is what you're kind of looking at for pricing. I was prepared to maybe just get one of them. But the guy was like, you didn't try to pull one over on me. I appreciate you being honest. And so he was like, that's what I had him listed it at. So you can imagine I probably got him for less. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, yeah. I mean, that checks out. Or you just had him in your collection and never played him. Either way. And he's like, we'll do $150 for both. So just $20 more than that $80 and $50. And I was like,
wow.
Yoink, 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 yoink,
yoink. You lost me when you said PlayStation. I was like, Sega CD? Oh.
Yeah, no, I don't want to touch that one. That thing would those cases shatter upon touch.
Yeah, they're just, it's like every Sega thing. It's like, oh, it's collectible? Okay, we're just going to make sure we break for no reason.
Yeah, it's oof.
But hey, glad you did some good old-fashioned video game dumpster diving and you got some good stuff. Las Vegas is a surprising place to find some just really choice things. I mean, I remember the last time I went there, it was for some type of exercise. And I remember finding a game store where I got some of my Dreamcast games that I still have today. And I'm like, hell yeah, I want to play Virtual On and Marvel vs. Capcom 2. But yeah.
I have not been able to play any games while I've been out here, sadly. I literally was ready. So the next of my backlog wars, so you all are tracking, I am playing through the Xenoblade Chronicles franchise. And I was going to start with Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. I've gotten a total of 30 minutes of gameplay in my time here in Las Vegas.
Wow. Wonderful. All right. So,
but
on to the topic at hand.
So
enough about this whole rare old games and old games that are actually worth it. Let's talk about Xbox, which apparently is deciding it's worth nothing anymore.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, fans of gaming, all of you who were there for the console wars from Nintendo versus Sega, Nintendo versus PlayStation, and then Xbox entering the scene, then the 360 dominating for quite some time, then the PlayStation taking over, then the Switch taking over. Xbox is finally bowing out of the console wars. And
that is all projection.
We're going to talk about it. It is projection, but if you're a PlayStation fan, na 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 na, na 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 na, hey, 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 fuck you, Xbox.
These are the times where I wish you were actually more tired so you just wouldn't talk. But yes, we'll jump into the discussion right after this musical break. Stick around.
So, John is going to be taking the forefront on this because, let's be real, I mean, for all the grief I have given him on the show, and aside from the show, as one of his best friends, the Xbox is near and dear to his heart. And I just want to, empathize a little bit. I can't even say it. I can't even say it.
Yeah. But he's literally getting naked right now, and he's trying to be. It's like I just am, and it's like a Bacchus painting. It's just like you're seeing me in pain, and you're just enjoying it. You're feasting on it.
So because this is honestly going to be John's stage. Like, in all seriousness, I will say, and like my Sony-isms aside, this is a very weird time now to be a fan of consoles, because this is This is going into truly uncharted territory with some of the things that we're going to talk about. And it could, as I joked, it could very well be the death knell of Xbox. Now, as much of you console people who are Sony or Nintendo are like, yeah, screw you, Xbox. I will say this.
What are you, 5? God.
I mean, hey, like people who still think the console wars exist, they're aged, they're seasoned veterans, so they appreciate that.
Yeah, they appreciate. It's kind of like those people who wear. When I visited Finland, there would be people who would like wear the Finnish national flag type T-shirts and say shit like "Thanks Russia for our last good war," and it's just like, what the hell is wrong with you? But yes, please continue.
So, if this is truly the last, the death knell, that means somebody who has been a staple for over 20 years in the console environment, they're gone.
Mm.
Your want or desire of it, I want you to temper that, because when a titan in an industry that only has 3 technical titans falls, we as consumers could and will probably see some form of price hike, some form of other way of monetary gouging, because one falls, something rises. So I want all of you to realize that. And John, the floor is yours.
Okay. First off, about time. Thank you. Second, so one of the things I just immediately want to piggyback off of what you said is that we'll see things like price hikes and stuff like that. I don't think we'll see those immediately because, I think we've already seen them. Games being $70 now. Pretty crazy. But the one thing that will ultimately disappoint me the most, as Phil Spencer himself says, certain, we're not in a console war, a console race against Sony and Nintendo. So hopefully that means that Xbox as a platform, and we've talked about this in previous episodes, would go to an all digital or a service based, thing. Xbox could not just be a console, it could be a service, it could be that stuff. But now we see stuff like the GameStop ad that says experience the demo days of Xbox with Microsoft Game Pass. It's wait a minute. It's not called Microsoft Game Pass. It's called Xbox Game Pass. So what is the point of the name or the marketing or the branding or whatever? That's kind of all pedantic to the main thing. When a certain, one of the titans bows out of the quote unquote console industry, we also just see low returns on what kind of games can be made. Because my game of the year last year was Hi-Fi Rush, and that is the type of game that I don't think Sony would ever approve. A, because it's not a freaking live service Destiny 2 style game where you can infinitely grind nothing until your wallet's dry, or a freaking hyper freaking inflated, padded, bloated Last of Us 2 God of War Ragnarok thing, which has the most graphics and the most ways to waste your time, one of the things, because that was actually kind of what gave me hope last year for having a platform like Xbox to continue existing. Do the things that other people aren't doing. Make the games that Nintendo and Sony aren't making anymore. And that could be your way forward. But again, as we're seeing, if the whole point is to be console agnostic and have Xbox be more of a service, because they still own these studios, and Microsoft isn't hurting for money. They're a $1 trillion company. You can still see Avowed and Fable and all of these things that were staples for Xbox on the console could be available everywhere. It's in the grand scheme of things, that would be great. That would be amazing. And with new IPs like Activision and stuff, that'd be great too. But because Activision got Activision, they freaking closed Toys for Bob and fire more people. And it's just kind of hard to root for anything in this industry anymore because it's more and more moving in a direction that you just don't want. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. I still adore my Xbox because I have a lot of games for it, and I've built that library over years now. And I still have good memories of the first one. Freaking, playing Ninja Gaiden Black, Jet Set Radio Future, Jade Empire, Knights of the Old Republic, all that stuff, which you can actually still play on your most current Xbox, is pretty freaking sweet. You can't do that with PlayStation. So, I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of this writing on the wall, and I raise an eyebrow. Like, I'm not concerned or scared or whatever, because I think that would kind of show a bit more of an emotional connection to something than I would like to admit, because it's not there. But, like, I don't know. It's kind of hard to see the positives or look on the bright side when stuff like this just comes out with no explanation, you know?
Yeah, it's this is weird, all things considered, right? This is definitely something we didn't ever
Okay, mark that. Bless you.
So this is something we didn't expect to see, to witness. When you think of, like, I mean, I use the word Titans, right? Like, when you think of the Holy Trinity, the Nintendo, the Microsoft, and Sony, each has their flagships. And I mean, just last year, we were witnessing the blow for blow battle, the Activision buyout, the I'm getting Bungie. Like, we were witnessing, like, blow for blow. We heard Microsoft say, all of these are just going to be here. I mean, they even got rights to Crash and Spyro.
Yeah. And then closed the studio, and now that studio is closing, which made those remakes, which people freaking loved.
It's like, if you look at last year, Microsoft was setting themselves up, hunkering down, and I mean, just real talk, they were ready to battle. They were ready to get into the trenches and go blow for blow. What happened? Like, you were so ready. What happened, Microsoft?
See, okay, and this is where it goes into the ultimate thing, where this is all opinion, or you just know, our projections or whatever, which I think you're kind of here for, if you're here for this podcast. But so, because I remember I'm getting very much the same vibes I had when the Dreamcast was not working for Sega, and Sega decided to go into becoming, you know, a third-party publisher. But what was nice is that the Dreamcast was still that last chance for Sega to be their most competitive. They made amazing games for that thing, which some of them still even aren't available on any console anymore. Like, they pushed really hard, but it just wasn't enough. Now, I think what a lot of these buyouts were, and we've read reports like when Redfall came out, where it's like, well, we had the metrics, and we were going to say that this was like a 7 or 8 out of 10 game and stuff. And I'm just kind of sitting back like, okay, so what that tells me is, as much as CEOs and boards of directors and people try to make decisions, they're not trying to make decisions in the moment. They're trying to think ahead like 5, 10 plus years at a time, right?
Yep.
What I think ultimately these like studio acquisitions and these company buyout or platform buyouts or anything like that, it was designed to basically bolster the ranks for what a lot of them have incorrectly assumed was going to be the future of games, which was live services all the time. Like, that's why Sony acquired Bungie.
So I can definitely agree with that. For me, like, as we're talking, as I've been thinking about it, because I mean, this has been something that I've been thinking about, even though I've been dying this week. I'm gonna be real with you. No man or woman should be doing 47,000 steps, point blank and period, full stop, full send. I don't think Microsoft and like Xbox, I don't think they recovered from the big trip of the Xbox One with that initial live everything, connect, blah, blah, blah. Like, I truly feel that Nintendo, Sony, they kind of subtly switched their gears in a sense that everything they were doing made sense to Xbox's did not make sense. And in that process, that was kind of the death knell. If you parse this and you look at it as a whole, this has been something that was kind of the writing on the wall almost 10 years now.
Right, but I think there's also, maybe there's a benefit, maybe there's like a consequence for maybe being too ahead of your time. Because when they announced, like, yeah, this console is going to be, you know, an always online required thing, and the games for it were like the flagship game coming to Xbox One was like Titanfall, which was an online only multiplayer shooter robot game. And the fact, like, I think, and now we're kind of seeing it 10 years later with the same kind of immediate backlash to something like a Suicide Squad, where like a game made by a prestigious company or prestigious developers that ultimately just failed to hit its mark, or at least, you know, not given, granted, not even whatever quality you might find is, you know, actually there, is being like rebelled against. Like the thought alone of a game like Suicide Squad being the way it is, people were just like, no, we don't want this, and this is bad. And so it's everything old is new again, I swear to God. Like it's frustrating. It's frustrating to see it, and it's frustrating to have to live through it. But like when I said that CEOs kind of wrongfully bet on what the future of video games is, like we've had so many case studies of this. Look at what happened to Anthem. Look at what happened to the Avengers. Look at what happened to even Babylon's Fall. And now it's going to be Suicide Squad, I bet, because who the hell knows if that's going to even live up to whatever the hell ambitions it had. Like, this isn't the first time that money has effectively attempted to destroy the games industry, and we're just seeing another phase of this, I think. So it makes total sense for a company like Xbox to be like, hey, we don't have to own like the consoles. We just have to own the platform. So when he says like, hey, people on PlayStation, you want to keep playing Call of Duty and Warzone and all these games? Well, Activision's our company now. So all that money goes to us.
So I don't think money's ruining the gaming industry. I don't think money is the core issue. And hear me out, because I see your eyes looking at me like, wait a second, James.
Wait, the guy who used to work at a bank says money's not the issue.
So we've talked about it here recently. 174 billion in profit last year. And what's happening is, I'll be real with you. The only company that was honestly good about a live service game, and I'm not saying the people in the company are good, so let me preface that as well. Activision Blizzard. World of Warcraft has been around since 2004, $14.99 for your monthly subscription. So you factor in almost 20 years, because I believe it was like October or November of 2004 when it came out. You factor in almost 20 years of $15 a subscription. God. 20 years of being successful with it. They've seen rises in players. They've seen falls in players. So if you want, like, the blueprint is there, is what I'm saying with this comment. And unfortunately, nobody applies the same blueprint. Babylon's Fall didn't. Anthem didn't. We can go on and on. Suicide Squad here did not. And that, like, right now, that just doesn't work. I'm going to be blunt. I appreciate all of you who are playing your live service games. The only ones that work, your Call of Duty, your 2K, and your Madden. It's literally sports or shooting, and specific shooting, not all of them. Oh. Stop making them unless you are going to give a product that can be built on.
Right, but that's what we've been seeing, is that we've been seeing these games shut down, and like games made by good developers, by good companies. And like, it's a fault of the industry, because at this point, like I was talking about this with my wife a little bit ago, like seeing the kind of backlash to all this stuff. It's like, I remember the 80s when every single person had like a Pac-Man clone, and the market was just saturated with all sorts of different versions of varying quality of just Pac-Man, and people were like, yeah, we've played Pac-Man, we've had enough. Like, we're not eating at the trough anymore, lining up for this freaking slop. So it's just a matter of, like, even like Marvel's Avengers, and this is kind of me, not necessarily regurgitating other people's opinions, but like that game had a great single player campaign. And then afterward, it was all about priming you for the continued grindathon, which would be the post game. And what I think a lot of people are learning and people are, rebelling against is just like, yeah, this isn't fun anymore. Like, look at the games that succeeded all of last year that was like Hogwarts Legacy and Baldur's Gate 3 and like even Hi-Fi Rush to its own degree. Like, very strong core experiences focused on delivering like a singular experience that was good. And that's all you need to do. But that's not the lesson that these companies are taking away from this. They're just like, well, we have so many projects in the pipeline already. We might as well just shit them out and see what we can get. It sucks.
I'm going to pose a question to you, John. Why is World of Warcraft good? Why has it lasted? So the only failed live service that had a potential chance of success in what we've mentioned would have been Marvel's Avengers, the Midnight Sun one, right?
No, Midnight Suns was the Firaxis strategy game. The Avengers one was made by Crystal Dynamics, which was the beat 'em up.
Sorry. We're gonna blame being tired. World of Warcraft, before becoming World of Warcraft, you had Warcraft 1, 2, and 3, the RTS style games. You had definitive lore. You had meticulously built a player base who wanted to be involved in the world. You had crafted an experience and then fully opened up that world to be fully explored, to be fully realized. On top of doing that, you had books coming out that were well written to get you deep, deep, deep in the lore. And I'll be real with you, the sense of satisfaction, and Destiny, you can still sometimes get this, the sense of satisfaction of playing with 10, 25, or 40 people, or even just a 5-man dungeon, right? That sense of we accomplished something and teamwork, that's the core success of World of Warcraft. And it's been there since its inception in 2004. None of these live service games provide you that. They give you the work, because cut and dry, WoW is work. Even if you start now and you do the fast track to max level, or you go back and play because they rewound time and allowed you to go experience it all anew for players that joined a little late. Even if you break the fun down, there's a grind. You have to get X materials in order to make this, X of that in order to make this. You have to farm gold, farm materials, ensure you're always raid ready, if that's what your goal is. If you take away that camaraderie, WoW is the ultimate grind, with the exception of EVE Online, and that's a whole different beast in itself.
What you're talking about? Sorry, go ahead.
All of these current ones that have failed, they don't have that sense of camaraderie. They don't have that sense of teamwork. They don't have that sense of fulfillment. They have just the grind. And that's why, in my opinion, that's why they've all failed.
What you're talking about is player buy-in. And what's crazy is that I think that was what they were going to try to do with Overwatch until, Jeff left Blizzard and Blizzard decided to be a terrible company. But you're entirely right, because to me, what World of Warcraft is basically a virtual Disneyland you get to visit whenever you want for $15 a month. Like, you have these stories, these characters, this lore, this world that you have effectively had, again, player buy-in. You've had the people care about the orcs and, the Horde and the Alliance and all these people and, Murlocs and shit. I really do not know anything about Warcraft. But no, frickin' I played more Diablo. But anyway, I keep hearing noises from outside and it's driving me crazy. It's throwing me off my chain of thought. Anyway, what you're saying is exactly right. Like, who, in terms of like playing, I'll use Suicide Squad again because it's the current punching bag. But like, if you ask people what would you want from a Suicide Squad game, would you say, oh yeah, I want crafting and gear scores and looting and shooting people from a rooftop from far away? No, they'd say I want something like a Batman Arkham where it's like I can play as the character I want and there's missions structured around these characters with actual mission and level design that, facilitate the good writing and story which these games had. So I think again, also what you're saying about MMOs and stuff, the same player buy-ins there, because remember when like everyone was making an MMO? When like WildStar came out and Star Wars Galaxies came out, the fact that Galaxies couldn't even work, oh my god.
Nothing can no live service game that is supposedly story-ish driven can ever compete with World of Warcraft. Full stop, full send. Like, the lore was there for Star Wars, the fan base was there, but they didn't make it engaging. That's the difference. In WoW, you have dailies. Like, every area, like, you'll have daily quests you can do. That's a grind. And I'm saying area. And if you've been playing for all the expansions, just imagine the sheer insanity of that amount of dailies.
Yeah. I play Overwatch. I know what you're talking about.
And I'll make you a pitch. You know what? We're going to do a game pitch right now, mid-episode, for our recent Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. Right now, it's literally looking like it's going to be the next Babylon's Fall of PlayStation 5. It is not looking pretty, right, John?
No, it's not.
If they wanted this to succeed, right now, villains are in. You allow us to enjoy the seedy underbelly of Gotham. You allow us to further enhance Harley's influence, King Shark's influence, Boomer Quanger, whatever we want to call him. I'm giving him Mega Man X's boss
Captain
name.
Boomer Quanger, yes.
Yep. So you allow us to explore that, to build their influence. And then you create that pivotal story moment that hooks what you're doing with what you want to be the core of the gameplay. And from there, each and every member of the Justice League is an area to progress into, to grow with, and to enhance. And you build it in the sense of you have those small micro dungeons, 5-mans or whatever, like however many people the console wants to allow, where it's the smaller heroes. You take on Booster Gold, you take Booster Gold down. You take on Plastic Man, you take Plastic Man down, so on and so forth. Or you have the ability to save them, whatever, right? But you build that up.
Wow.
You build that up and you build that influence, you build that buy-in, because the big bosses are always going to be the Supermans, the Wonder Womans, the Green Lanterns, the Flash, right? Those are always going to be like the big bad if you're doing good as bad. You build into that and you set it up as content. Like, first iteration is those dungeons. You hit your level cap. You get to experience, like, you get to understand the ins and outs of what's going on. And then you get to the first, honestly, it would probably be Green Lantern. Green Lantern is the first, hey, you've made it to end game. Let's go. You beat Green Lantern. You acquire new gear. It opens up a whole nother area with more level cap, because now you're going to fight someone stronger. So you have additional levels. Got to get more gear. Like, think about that. It's a buy-in, and it's a layered buy-in. That is World of Warcraft that could have been implemented here and would have kept people vested. And your face says, I would play that right now. Ladies and gentlemen, John has a look of, I can't believe James got it right.
No, my look is what you basically described was the very first Crackdown. That's the game you just sold to me. It's like, oh, it's Crackdown. The game where the entire point is to jump around a city and friggin' collect orbs and grind and gear up and take down big bosses. Yeah, we've played that game before. My question then becomes, is that what you wanted from a frickin' Suicide Squad game? You know? Because if the whole point was to get together with your crew and make jokes, like, remember the movie, the good Suicide Squad movie, where they go to, like, you know, a South American country and kill Starro? Spoilers. Like,
Bird.
Do something like that. Like, I mean, I think that's effectively what they did, because they're like, hey, this thing is happening in this other country and we need you to go fix it for us, and if you don't, we'll kill you. Oh, by the way, it turns out it's Starro, only in this game it's like, oh, it's Brainiac. So
admit it though, what I described you would play.
Potentially. I mean, there's a chance of a fun game there, but I think there's also going to be, and we're getting way off track talking about Xbox. We're talking about this freaking game now. But ultimately, what we talked about earlier with MMOs was the idea of things like player buy-in. And the fact, and observing the fact that if you look at the actual gameplay of a game like World of Warcraft, it is a grind, it is resource management, it's leveling up, it's all that stuff. Yeah, that's Crackdown, but it's like an MMO, but with guns. You kill gang members like mercilessly, like to the point where it's almost dehumanizing, and you get better firearms and speed and strength and agility and all that kind of stuff to go take down the friggin' mob bosses. Now, that game was fun. In terms of overall longevity of a concept, I mean, we saw what happened with Crackdown 3. At least I did. I had fun. Other people were just kind of like, oh, this is Crackdown again. I'm like, yeah, but Crackdown, if you like it, it's fun. So, wow.
It's a good.
Yeah, and Terry Crews was in it, and that was fun. You could get a rocket launcher that shoots exploding rubber ducks. It was fun.
I'm going to go on record. I'm going to say Xbox hit their ceiling and could no longer shatter and go through 2014. And since then, they've been going laterally, and there has been little upticks in improvement, because certain things that are exclusive addressed issues, fixed issues. Like if you played the DLC for Cyberpunk 2077, oh my goodness, was that not a beautiful thing of glory compared to Cyberpunk 2077? No, that was the studio on the Xbox platform. I'm throwing them a bone. Even I think we need but it's on. I think we need to go to on Wikipedia. The Xbox platform.
It's also on PlayStation and PC. Yes, and it's coming to the Switch, where it's going to run like trash.
I'm giving it a bone. Okay.
All right.
But
sure.
So we look at those small incremental victories, and then it just kind of stopped, because we kind of hit a point. Game A releases everywhere on everything. Skyrim, Witcher 3. Like, your exclusives were getting shortened and shortened on Microsoft. Do you even remember the last Gears of War? Like, did you have fun with it, or was it just kind of a fart in the wind?
I tried to play through Gears of War 4 first, and then I just kind of stopped. I don't know why. But what I kind of want to pivot the conversation a bit, because I want to get back to the actual, like, the MO for the company, because we have data, we have quotes, we have interviews, we have Phil Spencer, the guy who pretty much saved the Xbox brand with something like Game Pass and acquiring studios and stuff, which were all solid moves to, try and bolster their ranks and actually make the Xbox a competitive platform again. But when you have the head of your company, the head of, everything, saying like an 11 out of 10 won't save Xbox, it's like, yeah, but did you try? Like, have you tried that maybe? Maybe having a game that's actually worth owning the console for would make the console worth owning. But I don't think that's what the discussion is anymore. The discussion is how to make the Xbox or Microsoft gaming umbrella expand. So yes, it's a lateral move, but it's also one of exponential growth eventually, because again, I think their whole approach is just throw things at the wall, and it's better sometimes to have the things that other consoles don't have. Problem is that we're in a phase of gaming right now where I feel like people are lining up for PlayStation slop. Like, I personally have my opinions on it. I don't care about, like, The Last of Us. When they announced the friggin' Last of Us online multiplayer game that they eventually canceled, I didn't care. But I'm sure there were people out there who were stoked, who really wanted to frickin' be in Hobo Fights the game online. So, I don't know.
They can't. So with all those studio acquisitions over the years, because it wasn't just the recent ones with Activision Blizzard and everything else, they have been acquiring and acquiring. They ballooned laterally, and they made nothing of it.
Like, they have their heavy hitters within their ecosystem. Like, we might not care individually about Forza, but there are people out there who freaking love Forza.
Yeah. So here's where I'll go with what you mentioned. I'm going to piggyback off of you. They had the ability to continue going laterally to eventually break that ceiling again and be relevant. Because if you look at the sheer power in the companies that they own, right? And the companies that are part of their umbrella, that is a veritable titan after titan after titan of development company, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
And they've done they've done nothing with it. I think with what happened 2014, the Xbox One fiasco, I think that was something that made them way too cautious. You don't really see any risk, any going out there. You see their main stuff still coming out, like we got Halo Infinite, you mentioned Forza, but we don't see them leveraging anything. And I think that lack of leveraging caught up to them, and now everything's coming. I mean, I'm going to feel very weird about it, but I'll play Halo on PlayStation 5. I'll do it.
Hell yeah, we'll play it together. Like, again, it's one of those things where finally. I think Xbox as Microsoft as like a company, you got to wonder if it's just bad luck, because like this happened when they bought Rare, and Rare was in this golden empire of everywhere from Battletoads up to Donkey Kong Country and Killer Instinct and Perfect Dark and GoldenEye, and it's like, and so many good games. And then as soon as they bought them, they made Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts and went to slave away in the Kinect mines. The Coalition, made out of former Epic Games staff that were responsible for the games like Gears of War, which again put Xbox on the map. Now what do? Is they're still in the Gears of War mines, but where is Gears of War? Where's their relevance? What's its relevance now? Like, I think the only studio really that kind of continues to be good for them is Mojang, Ninja Theory, and Double Fine, because Double Fine hasn't been forced to make an online competitive multiplayer shooter that they would have no business making. Ninja Theory is still making their narrative-driven Psychosis game with Hellblade 2. And they own, like, Bethesda. They own id. They own id, for God's sakes, the company that, by and large, never really misses. And yet they still have told us that they can't be competitive? What the hell?
So what we're describing, everyone, I mean, you're literally hearing us through this dialogue. There has been some ramblings into MMO and everything, we'll wholeheartedly admit, but that's why you love us, because we ramble.
And now they have Activision Blizzard. The even if you wanted to look at it the most cynically as possible, the people who frickin' are responsible for Candy Crush. Like, it can't just be, oh, we want an infinite revenue stream. It's like, no, we have hundreds of amazing IPs at our disposal. And you're telling me an 11 out of 10 game wouldn't save the Xbox? My brain's broken. My brain's just broken now. This sucks.
I mean, we've kind of described the full process of why they're failing. For as much grief as I give John, and as much grief as I give anybody with an Xbox, because you all know my bread and butter being JRPGs, we were getting to a time where they were even coming out on Xbox. You look at here recently, Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. You look at Persona 3 Reloaded, the Persona re-release of 3 and 4. You look at Tales of Arise. You look at Star Ocean: The Divine Force. You look at Scarlet Nexus. Here in recent history, we were finally seeing universal love for things that were normally separated, with the exception of, Nintendo first-party stuff. But even they kind of weirdly hinted at it when we randomly got Octopath Traveler on Game Pass.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, I think there's that benefit of being a bit console agnostic. The ability of being multi-platform is good. But in order for a platform to hold value, you need for a reason for them to stick around. And they seem to just be completely dogpiling on the fact that, well, we screwed up 10 years ago, so now we can't right the ship. It's like, no, you can. You're just not doing it.
So, and where I was going with that, right? we finally hit a point where the separation was fading on most games. And if I was Microsoft, use that to my advantage. Hey, we have these coming out. Let's take a risk. We know what our heavies are. Our heavies have not been very well received here recently. And the main reason people honestly still use us is because when it comes to Game Pass and when it comes to enjoying online multiplayer capabilities, they still have the edge over Sony. They're centuries ahead of Nintendo. We won't even get started there. Try playing Smash Online.
Nintendo Online sucks still, and we're paying for it now, which double sucks.
So, hey, we still get bones with Golden Sun, though. I'm okay with that one.
Sure.
But that's the reason people still stuck around for so long, is because they ensured that your online experience would be better than the rest. And it still is. Even in today's day and age, it's a better experience. It holds up better than the PlayStation 5. And you're not leaning on that. You're not taking advantage of, to quote John here, console agnostic, being console agnostic. You had the ability, now that things were slowly matriculating over to Xbox, you had the ability to, here's a new IP, like Hi-Fi Rush, for example, right? That was awesome. Why didn't you continue on those kind of waves? You showed a whole new IP, like a brand new IP could be successful, and you didn't even really advertise it. You didn't even really hype it up. It was kind of just, surprise.
Yeah, when you shadow drop something and the universe like thanks you for it, that tells you something about the confidence in your work when you actually decide to work. You know what I'm saying?
So, yeah, I think honestly, after what happened with the Xbox One, the wounds were too fresh and they were overly cautious. If John and James were the heads of game development and direction at Microsoft for their Xbox line, take risks. Shooters outside of your Fortnite and Call of Duties, they're kind of falling bland. Overwatch is seeing a downtick in people playing. You name it. And any other one is just kind of downtick, with the exception of the two. Call of Duty will forever be there. Fortnite will forever be there forevermore. Okay, I see that. I hear that. Pivot. Give us more things like Hi-Fi Rush. Give us a new... You proved... We'll go 2 consoles back to your 360. You proved you could be relevant. If none of you have experienced it, Lost Odyssey is arguably one of the best journeys you can have in an RPG. And the only way you can play it is on Microsoft, is on Xbox.
And you can actually still play that game on your Series X, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they even got the bigger bone. Here recently, the best way to experience and enjoy the Final Fantasy XIII trilogy, love it or hate it, is within a Microsoft world now.
Yep. Like, I even just like separating things from just genres of games altogether, I still ultimately think the best thing for Xbox to do is just to do the things that the other companies aren't doing. It's the blue ocean strategy. It's like, okay, we've already have so many waters in the live service, MMO, whatever type of space. How about we go to the place where it's not so full? How about we make the games? Because, like, again, the horror story of all of this is that if Xbox, as a console manufacturer, as a game maker, decides to just back out, like, worst case scenario, that just means we're only getting like one type of AAA game, one type of these types of games. And that puts a limit on the type of games that could get made, the stories could get told, or even experiences we could still have. I don't want that. I want people to be able to make the games they want to make, regardless of whatever the hell they actually turn out to be. I just don't want I don't want the conversation to be dominated with frickin' where I think games are going. Like, because I have been, on this show, I have been very vocally critical of games like Sony has made, like Last of Us and God of War Ragnarok and the previous God of War and all sorts of shit. And the fact that every game just feels the same now is not fun. I don't want that.
So I know I'm going to preface this with everybody. I know John and I have kind of been talking, the end is nigh, the end is nigh. The reality is it's going third party. Like the console may itself be gone. We're literally, so if these rumors and rumblings hold true, Gears of War, Halo, Sea of Thieves, like Hellblade 2 are coming to PlayStation. They're third partying. That does not mean the full so I will preface this. I don't want to be the super doom and gloomy. I don't want this to be like, oh no, the world is ending episode, but kind of is. Mm-hmm. By them going third party, they are also effectively bowing out of the console race.
And I lived through it again with Sega. Like we both did. The prospect of having Sega games on other platforms is kind of fun. It's just a shame that the guiding principle or development, ideology that brought some of these games and publishers and developers and console manufacturers together is going to be gone. That's the thing I'm going to miss the most if this truly is where it goes. I have no idea, because they showed us the 10-year plan when those Activision, lawsuit, FTC stuff, when those documents came out, and they said oh yeah, we're just going to make an all digital console and it'll basically just be, a Game Pass machine or whatever the hell we decide to make for it. So if that's the case, I don't know. That's kind of why I want another Xbox Series X with a disc drive before they just get rid of those. So
this is a weird time to be a gamer. It's awesome because the gaming industry, it has grown to be larger than all sports combined. 174 billion in profit last year. This year, we could see 200 billion. We could see more. Like, we could see the gaming industry potentially soon become a $1 trillion industry. Terrifying to say.
Here's what I'm going to predict, and this is stupid, but it's actually going to be true. They're going to play the Super Bowl in Fortnite.
That'd be funny. That would be
it'd be funny. It'd be funny, but then I'd be all like, okay, not only is culture dead, it's in hell.
So I'm going to leave you all with this. I don't know what John's going to leave you with. Regardless of your disdain for any of the consoles, say you're a Sony exclusive person, say you don't want to play anything past the PlayStation 2, because I know there's some people that don't like the way the gaming industry went. Say you're an Xbox person, a PC person, a Nintendo person.
Or you actually know what joy and happiness is outside of it and don't need video games.
Well, our show is officially over now.
Well, I hope you enjoyed Games with John and James, our 101 episode. See ya, folks.
101 Dalmatians, what?
No. I don't even know what that was. But whatever. I'm just losing it because I see all this stuff and I'm just like, are you freaking kidding me?
So competition needs to be there. Competition, healthy or unhealthy, right? It breeds creativity. How do I break ahead of the competition? I've been referencing 2014 in this episode because once the Xbox One came out and it was online only, live service only, like you had to be on the internet at all times, that was a very bad misstep. That was essentially the same misstep Sony did with the PlayStation 3 initially. And you have, as a part of that, I'm going to rewind time. You're in 2014. That announcement happens. It drops. PlayStation 4 drops. Time is advancing a little bit. They're attempting to recover. Bloodborne hits. Mm-hmm. They're attempting to recover even more. You've got it just keeps going and going in PlayStation's favor.
Yeah.
PlayStation took advantage of the situation with creativity, because creativity within competition makes new things happen. If Xbox truly does stay third party and only be third party, that there's no competition anymore. Like, we'll still get our AAA games. The JRPG machine will still be the JRPG machine. The visual novel machine will still be the visual novel machine, so on and so forth.
How dare you call the Switch that? No, I'm kidding.
But what's going to happen is you're going to see companies pull their foot off the gas. I don't have to worry about A, so what I'm creating. B, you'll get it when you get it. I think competition, like I said, healthy and unhealthy. Like, I think having Xbox still be relevant needs to be a thing, because we will eventually get nuggets like your hi-fi rushes. We will still get things like that. If they go third party, there's literally no reason for them to push anything. It's cool. Here's a game eventually. We're going to move on to other things. Thanks, bye. And that sucks, because you know as well as I, John, that is literally full stop, full pump the brakes on all of those studios, with the exception of WoW, because they'll let that run however, right? Just, yeah, that's just it. It sucks. Like, we need, oh God, this is so painful to say. We need, give me a second. Give me a second.
I want to hear it.
We need them to stay. Oh, we need them to stay. We do not need them to go third party, because I'm going to bookend this. I'm going to tie it in very nicely, because it just popped into my head. John's favorite franchise, Sonic, it's third party. Look at the downhill spiral Sonic has been in. We're talking big picture here, John.
What are you talking about?
So, since Sonic went third party, there have been, I know you have games you enjoy that have, come out, but if you look at them third party, it's kind of taken a downhill from where Sonic has been. It's, you're going to get a game when you get a game. Oh, it's that time to release a new Sonic game. Oh, okay, we'll re-release this one. We'll remaster this one. It's taken them so long to give you a Sonic Frontiers. It's taken them so long to try and do new stuff, because now that they're third party, they can go work on other things.
I need to educate you on Sonic, but I will not do this now. We already have our episode here. What I'm going to do is just try and wrap my head around that asinine statement you just made. And we're going to cut to music, and we're going to wrap up. What do you say?
Ouch.
Good. The pain is good. All right. We'll cut to music, and we'll give you our final thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back. Okay, I really hope people stick around for the next episode, because I am going to just completely dump all of my Sonic knowledge, my Sega knowledge on James, and we're going to have like an episode like the episode 101 Redacted, where we go back and actually kind of dive into what we just talked about here. But nonetheless, we have tangented hard in this episode already, talking about Suicide Squad, where we, despite whatever our misgivings or our allegiances will be, the whole state of Xbox is concerning, not just to us, but the games industry. But we want to hear what you have to say. So this episode's going to be on YouTube. This episode's going to be in all the standard places. Leave comments. Engage with us. Go over to our Instagram. Go over to our Twitter. I can't just argue about Grand Blue Fantasy all day with random people. I have to have other things to talk about.
This is one of those weird moments where John and I actually agree on Xbox that it does still need to be around, which is very weird for you to hear from both of us together. Him, not so weird. Me, very weird.
Yeah, if you see me, I'm in my green t-shirt with I'm wearing a giant glowing head that's just the Xbox logo.
And he's got Doritos stains everywhere.
Yeah, and I got my doing Doritos.
You're doing Doritos? Ew.
New
I
Mountain
broke
Dew
him.
flavor, whiteout. Wait,
I
no,
bro-
that
I-
existed.
I broke him in the outro. All right.
But
So-
if you'd like to hit us with the socials, James, so we can get the hell out of here because my brain is broken.
So you know where to find us at Games with John and James on Instagram, on TikTok. We post regularly there. We definitely want to know what your thoughts are because this is if this is the future of the gaming industry, this could be the first domino falling in a weird ripple effect that could send the game industry into overdrive in some form or fashion. And it won't be pretty because we saw what happened when Sega left. John and I were there. We were young lads once.
Yeah, we want to hear what you have to say. Like I said, hit us on the socials, hit us on the Instagram, follow us on TikTok. I'm on Twitter, and trust me, I'm not, as vindictive and ornery as it may seem on Twitter.
Yeah, he's been having a war. He's actually, so I have to give a shout out to John before we leave. He's actually been, what it seems like, enjoying Grand Blue Fantasy Relink.
Yeah, and I love the fact that there is a freaking TLDR button you can hit because holy shit.
So he's actually way further ahead in the game than I am, thanks, work.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait to spoil things for you. Oh, the sex scenes in this game are awesome.
Oh man, it makes me happy that it makes me really happy that you're enjoying that game.
I say when Sonic X Shadow comes out, you'll be sure to play that too. Give me all the horned up details about that.
Hey yo. But with that, as you know, I'm James.
I'm John.
And this has been Games with John and James, your number one podcast for all things randomly gaming and tangents, all in one.
Now go put a shirt on. Anyway, peace out, everybody.
Sonic Heroes.
I'm going to stab you through the computer right now.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the sound of James's ghost, and you are now listening to the Games with John show. I have been stabbed forevermore. It was John with a knife in the library.
You can't prove that, and I'll never admit it. I'll make a rap about it where I'll admit it, but no. Okay. Actually, goodbye. Goodbye, everybody.